The Sugar Bowl was to be played yesterday, and then the harrowing events of New Year's Eve rolling into New Year's Day in New Orleans with the terrorist attack that killed 15 people and injured many more caused those plans to be changed. Instead, the Sugar Bowl will be played today. From NOLA.com, Jeff Duncan joins us right now. He is a longtime New Orleanian and has been on the coast and that part of the world for a long time as well. If you listen to the Ricky Matthews show, you know Jeff is a regular guest and contributor with Ricky. Jeff, I appreciate a few minutes of your time. Yesterday was, I'm assuming for you, a day unlike many, where you are reporting news, you're reporting sports, you're trying to get a handle on what's going on, and just trying to kind of make sense of all of this.
Yeah, Richard, it was, and look, New Year's Day is often sobering, so I don't want to make light of that, but that's the word I would use in a city, kind of known for partying and revelry. This was a stunning news story. You don't ever want to see something like this happen anywhere. And when it hits in your own hometown at a time when everyone's supposed to be celebrating and having a good time, it certainly kind of knocks you to your knees. In the city, I would say, definitely was stunned yesterday. And everyone in the newsroom at the Times-Picayune, I mean, we're all human too. So we all felt the resonance of an impact of the story of this magnitude, and immediately went to work. You don't really process it, as you know, in the news business, in the middle of it. But certainly last night, coming to grips with what we encountered was pretty remarkable, and a sad day and tragic day for New Orleans.
Jeff, it's fascinating to me. Bourbon Street is not for New Orleanians, right? It's for those who are coming to visit, and yet most everybody that calls New Orleans home or has been there for an extended time has been down Bourbon Street, has been on Bourbon Street. Even if it's not a regular stop, it is a place that for so many in this region of the country is so very familiar, whether you are a reveler or just a people watcher. And I feel like the familiarity of that street and that area of New Orleans for so many makes this, to go back and use your word, even more sobering, but also more real.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, it's one of the most famous thoroughfares in the world. Bourbon Street is iconic. You're right. Everyone that's visited New Orleans it's one of the bucket list items when you come here to go visit Bourbon Street, whether it's your type of thing or not. You still want to see it and experience it. And it's one of the reasons that we have major sporting events and major conventions in this city. The Bourbon Street was the heart of the French Quarter. It's the tourist mecca of that part of the city, that district. And everyone has experienced it. So it hits home when something happens on it. And right there where the tragedy occurred is Galatoire's restaurant, one of the most famous restaurants in the city, an historic institutional, restaurant in our city. So I'm sure people have eaten there, seen it, and that's right where everything kind of took place. So there's no doubt that people across the world were riveted by this story because of New Orleans' popularity. I guess the irony, and that's probably not the right word, Richard, is I think the reason, and who knows, right? We're presuming here, but probably one of the reasons the tragedy occurred here, why terrorism struck here, is for the exact reason that so many people come here, right? It's a gathering place. It's a place for New Year's Eve that's famous all over the world for people to gather and celebrate. So in turn, that was also one of the reasons why we had this tragedy.
A tip of the cap to you and your colleagues at NOLA.com. Got in touch yesterday with one of the victims' mothers. Just an incredibly difficult story to read. Nakira Dado of Gulfport. Her mother giving us the information that she wasn't supposed to be there. Just kind of snuck over there on New Year's Eve with a cousin. And now she is with us no more. And I thought, the words, "I just want to see my baby. She was the sweetest person. She would give you anything." It creates a level of real for this that otherwise is like just something we're watching on the news.
It's heartbreaking. All those stories that you read, the tragedy is so, serendipitous, and there's happenstance involved, and you can play the what if game. But I think the bigger picture is people come here to this city in large part to escape, to have fun, to celebrate, and to have this tragedy strike. You could feel it yesterday, Richard. I mean, one of the things about New Orleans that I think makes it so unique is it's kind of one of the biggest small towns in America. Things resonate here. You feel things here. It's one of the reasons why the Super Bowl and the Final Four like coming here. When the event's in town, you know it. You feel it all over the city. Same is true for a tragedy like this. We certainly felt it during Katrina, and we felt it yesterday. The entire city kind of reverberates around an event like this. And I haven't seen the city like this in a long time. I mean, you could feel, just the stillness in the city last night. We were supposed to be a huge bowl game here, and everyone's celebrating, thousands of fans, tens of thousands of fans from both schools here. And everyone was just kind of walking around in shock, including the fans, and not knowing what to do. So it was just a weird, crazy, sad, tragic day yesterday.
I've said a couple of times this morning, Jeff, that there is no football game that is more synonymous with the city in which it is played than the Sugar Bowl and New Orleans. And yes, it's a football game, but it's a whole lot more than that, and it means a lot to the city. I thought that was part of the reason that it was such a big deal that yesterday they said, we're not going to play this game tonight. And then ultimately they push it back a day. To me, the biggest concern that exists is safety. And I know they've expanded the security perimeter. What's it going to look like? What's it going to feel like today, this afternoon, for the Sugar Bowl between Georgia and Notre Dame, in a game that was supposed to be played last night, where the stakes are ridiculously high because you've got a semifinal spot waiting in the college football playoff?
Well, it's the first time in the 91-year history of the game that we've had a postponement. So I think that testifies to the just how big this event was, this tragedy, the impact of it.
The show will go on.
Right. And look, it has to. There is a business element to this. It's a national playoff bracket. There's other games to be played. There's a lot of money at stake, obviously. And these kids, obviously, and coaches have played and coached their whole lives to get to a moment like this. So that strikes at the heart of the incongruity of this. Is they're trying to celebrate and focus, and there is no manual for how to handle a situation like this. Major sporting event executives like Jeff Hundley runs the Sugar Bowl. I mean, they're not trained to handle terrorist attacks and the reaction to that. So I think everyone got together and made a decision that was probably, it was undoubtedly in the best interest of everyone involved, because this tragedy and this attack appears to have the early reports that it could have tentacles. It could be more widespread than just one person. That's certainly the early reports that we're getting at the Times-Picayune. So you had to err on the side of caution here, and that this could be some kind of, an attack that could spread beyond Bourbon Street. Yeah. So, I understand, Richard.
Right? I mean, is 18 hours enough? I mean, does that give you the amount of time that you need to make sure that the event is secure and you can prevent anything else from happening?
Well, I think so, because the one thing I would say, the Superdome, has hosted so many major events, Final Four, Super Bowls. This is the 11th one coming up. They know how to, make an event secure. This has been going on. They've been having Super Bowl security meetings for 2 years, Richard. So in-depth ones. So they'll be fine at the Super Bowl. I mean, at the Sugar Bowl tonight. I'm not worried about that. It's more about the fear that maybe fans might have that are here in town that might not know that might not be familiar with just how secure it's going to be. But I would say, fans yesterday, some of the ones we interviewed, said they were just going to go home. They weren't going to go to the game. This was too much for them. And I understand that sentiment. You come here for one event and you end up living in fear for your life. Certainly would make you want to probably not be a part of the game tonight.
Were you at that 1:00 press conference yesterday in person?
No, I was not. We had about 8 people there, so I stayed back and watched it. But I did obviously have to cover it.
Yeah, I just 30 seconds left. I mean, I thought it was a pretty strange vibe. Like there were a lot of people that wanted to get in front of the microphone. It felt like a lot of people that wanted their face to be seen. Maybe that was all necessary. I don't know. It was an interesting vibe, though.
No, it was embarrassing, Richard. Let's call it what it was. A lot of grandstanding there at a time when we didn't need any of that. I was embarrassed as a New Orleanian.
Jeff, really appreciate your time and your insight. Great work by you and all of your teammates at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, and look forward to visiting with you soon.
Sure, anytime, Richard. Thanks for having me on.
Jeff Duncan, longtime sports columnist, author, NOLA.com, Times-Picayune, kind enough to spend a few minutes with us this morning on the Gallo Radio Show on SuperTalk Mississippi. We will wrap it up with you coming up next.